On all my videos, I give away an Amazon gift card to find out how to win. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Shin is a young man who one day gets stabbed trying to protect a group of girls. However, instead of dying, he wakes up in the body of Cain von Silford in a world of magic and swords. Being looked after by the gods that brought him to this world, Cain has been gifted immense magical power that he must keep secret from everyone as he learns how to control said power for an inevitable destiny that he must soon face. Kazuya tried to play the hero and got stabbed like Rimuru the Slime while trying to protect a group of girls from an armed robber. He then wakes up to find himself reincarnated in another world as a 3-year-old child named Cain von Silford of a noble family. Kazuya was initially confused about the whole situation, but he quickly adapted. He met all the family members at breakfast and asked for permission to study to learn everything he could about this world. His family was shocked due to his sudden increase in intelligence. As Cain could write and solve mathematical problems at 3 years, he was now a genius, more of a cheat because his mind was that of a high school student. His father gave him permission to studying magical books too. He immediately got the hang of magic, but he kept a secret. His sister Rin, who was 2 years older than him and also had some sort of a brother complex, decided to teach him herself. She told about their history and all the races of the world. At the age of 5, Cain was ready to be baptized. On their way, he asked magic status. His sister Rin showed him her status window where he confirmed her brotherly complex like Miyuki Shiba. Because there was a section that said Adorer of Cain, she quickly closed her status window when Cain noticed. They got to the church and Cain to the oath for his baptism. As the priest prayed to the gods, one of them suddenly laughed as if he was Father Christmas, and a bright light appeared and Cain was transported to the world where the 7 gods reside. Zenom, the god of creation, and the god who created this fantasy world, introduced. Rime, the goddess of life and death, told Cain that his death was unexpected and as pointless as the death of Hanjo, because had it been that he did not try to play a hero, the armed robber would have tripped and gotten stopped by the people around the area. Since he died doing a good deed, the god of earth requested his reincarnation in this world. The goddess apologized because she wanted to block his diaper days, but he somehow remembered everything at the age of 3. Cain was grateful for the opportunity because he got to learn about magic and a wonderful family. Reno, the goddess magic, was pleased because Cain had been learning magic all this while, so she offered her protection. So did all other gods. Cain should be called the god of luck at this rate. The priest was beyond flabbergasted because no one had received such a bright light before. Cain's father, Garm, realized that Cain must have gotten protection from various gods. He asked Cain to open his status window, but Cain made an excuse and ran away. He got to a corner and checked his status window, and the gods gave him all of the GTA hacks possible. All his stats were maxed out. Cain decided to keep his abilities a secret as the god of creation also gave him the ability to conceal his true stats. As the family celebrated Cain's baptism, Sarah, his mother, asked about the light they saw back then. Garmin asked Cain to show them his status. Even though he had the mind of a high school student, he was still pretty dumb. He forgot to conceal his magic output, which was 3 times more than a royal mage. Garm was indeed a good father, unlike Goku. He told Cain to hide his abilities and status window because he could be seen as a threat to the kingdom. He later used his summoning book and accidentally summoned a monster. His sister and Parma were behind. Cain was once again in a tight spot and had to play the hero. This time things worked out fine. At his debut ceremony, Cain declared that he was going to be an adventurer. The gods revealed that Cain had to be the strongest in the entire by the age of 16 because they would need him. Garm gets tutors for Cain for him study and control his abilities. Cain was so excited about it that he kept on wondering what his tutors would like. He rushed to the window when he heard about their arrival. He mistakenly used instant transmission and fell from his room. One of the tutors noticed him as he was falling and left him the way Sai left Sakura. Cain, the god of luck, fell on the divine fruits of one of the tutors and squished them as he tried to get back up. She asked him if he needed to be fed because she did not have milk yet. Cain apologized and the butler introduced Master Millie and Master Nina, his tutors. They struggled to teach him as already had level 10 blessings from the god of war and magic, so he was superior in skill to the mere level 3 that the tutors were on. They told his parents that Cain was already far above the beginner's level. If they taught him intermediate magic, he would most likely destroy the mansion. They took Cain out to teach him. He then tried using intermediate level magic on a rock, and he disintegrated it. He also got his first kill. After hunting for a while, Cain checked status window and his skills had drastically improved as one of his skills gave 100 times more experience points than normal. They went to the guild to get permission to hunt stronger monsters. As they were getting the permission, Cross, a C-rank adventurer, and his squad started causing trouble, bullying Nina and holding Mill back. Cain intervened and told Cross to stop. Cross confronted him and a fight began. Cross drew out his sword, but Cain dodged all his attacks and blocked his sword with a finger SSJ3 style. Nina thanked him for protecting them, and they continued training. 3 years later, Cain is now 8 years old. Nina and Millie's contract expired. Cain decided to hunt dangerous monsters to craft a thank you gift. His abnormal and flashy powers scared the citizens. He had the citizens praying to the same gods that granted him his powers. How ironic. His tutors were grateful for the gift. He gave them magic bags that could store almost anything. Cain, the god of luck, got his tutors to lock their lips on his cheeks. After bidding them farewell, Garm confronted him about his recent activities because he had that the citizens were panicking. Cain told him about the monsters he faced. Garm was in disbelief because one of those monsters could flatten the city. He scolded Cain and told him to be careful. Cain was surprised that he easily defeated a dragon. He checked his status and he was beyond overpowered. His magic was over 80 million, and he got a new title as the enemy of all monsters and the dragon killer. 2 years later, he headed over to the royal capital to make his debut. There was an event all noble sons had to go through, and he was now 10 years old. On their way to the capital, Cain used his search skill and noticed a battle ahead. He alerted his Garm about it. He alerted the soldiers and told them to pick up the pace. Cain told him that they will not make it in time, so he went ahead. He activated a wind boost skill and zoomed to the battle like Avatar on. Cain got to the battlefield and easily took care of the horde of monsters, twirling in the air like a Power Ranger. The knights were wary of Cain, but eventually took their guards down when he introduced himself. Cain's knight and family finally arrived the same way the police arrives when all the bad guys have been eliminated. Cain used healing magic better than any saintess. Graham noticed the crest and their carriage, which belonged to the Duke Santana. As two girls stepped out of the carriage, Garm and Cain went down on their knees to greet them. The two girls were Princess Telesia and Miss Silk, the daughter of a duke. They thanked them for coming to their rescue. Telesia was still in shock, and Cain suggested using magic calm her mind. He used a relax spell which made them relax, and the god of luck once again displayed his limitless luck as he unintentionally rizzed them up. They began to fight over Cain and drag him back to their carriage. They give him any breathing space. He was suffering from success. They got to the capital, and Dame Von Gazer, the vice captain of the Royal Chivalric Order, thanked Cain for protecting the girls and his knights. Cain then brought out the bodies of the knights who unfortunately died in battle from his magic pocket. As he was about to take his leave, Dame told him that the king wanted to see him personally. Cain was in complete shock upon hearing the news. The king's right hand to the citizens about how Cain rescued the girls from the orcs. They were in disbelief as expected. The king thanked him and made him a baron. He also gave him 10 platinum coins and a mansion. Corgino protested because giving a child all that was beyond unreasonable. The king then asked him if he could kill all the orcs like Cain did, shutting Corgino up. The king and Silk's father, Eric von Santana, personally thanked Cain in a private chamber. The king told him that with the amount of talent he had, he could not be left alone, which was why he made it baron. He then moved to more pressing matters. The king and Eric asked Cain to take their daughter's hands in marriage. Cain reacted like a cat when he sees a cucumber. The king was in awe at the amount of riz Cain had as the two girls were ready to be engaged to him. He looked toward his father for advice, but he acted as if he could not see him. Cain eventually accepted the engagement. Cain visited the gods about his current abilities, and he would like them to review his status window. Zenom agreed with him that his stats were too overpowered and inhuman, especially since he did not have enough life experiences. Instead of reviewing his status window, Zenom suggested making him a demigod since he was already the most powerful human. Zenom then asked him to create something with the use of the knowledge from his previous to entertain them since there was not much to do in their realm. Cain went shopping with his sister and mom and got fed up of just sitting down and waiting. He was 10 and already tired of women. He went out and saw Parma across the street. She wondered what he was doing there, and he told her about his debut at the royal capital. As for Parma, she was training in her uncle's shop and introduced Cain to her uncle Temenis. Cain told him about the ideas he had and asked him if he was willing to create them and sell. Temenis was quite interested, so he agreed. Cain offered him a gold coin, which usually was way too much. Cain told him think of it as an investment. Cain forgot about Reen, and she got mad because he did not see the clothes she tried on. He told she looked no matter what she wore and promised to look at the rest when they got home. Temenis requested for Cain at his shop, and Cain visited him to check the prototype he had made. It was a popular board game, Reversi. Cain was glad that it came out exactly how he pictured it. He then showed Temenis how the game is played. He came up with the idea to make 1,000 normal boards and 50 fancy boards for the nobles. At the debut, Cain met up with Silk and her father Eric. They once again introduced themselves and thanked Cain for rescuing Silk. Eric had a weird smile on his face throughout. Cain complimented Silk's dress and kept on going. Eventually, Eric stopped him and told him that he had too much riz for 10 years old. His father could not be more proud. After the king's toast, Cain told him about the board game he had developed. As Cain and Silk were getting too comfortable with each other, 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐿 son interrupted them and had fantasies about Silk being with him. Things got heated between Cain and Habit's gag, so they challenged him to a duel. The duel ended up being nothing worth after the goons displayed, danced around, and produced spells that could not fly. Silk told them about who Cain was, and they immediately apologized in fear. The princess caught Cain and Silk together in the garden. She got jealous because she also wanted to go on a date with him. The king saw them and told Cain that they needed to have a conversation concerning Celestia. Cain was given the key and map to the mansion. He was also glad that the king was around. Eric walked and wanted to play reversey, so did everyone else. Cain got to the mansion and it looked like a haunted house. His luck finally ran out. The house and compound were clean instantly after Cain used a skill. Everyone wished they had an all-clean and an all-repair skill. His maid Sylvia and other maids came over to help out, but they had nothing to do since Cain already handled everything. He also got a new butler named Colin. Later that day, Cain finally saw his brothers, and they were in awe at all his accomplishments so far. His family visited his new mansion and were surprised at the condition of the house because the house was abandoned years ago. Garm knew Cain had a hand in this, and he confessed about using cleaning magic. Everything was okay, but the house needed works of art because nobles were quite fond of them. Sylvia was suddenly screaming and everyone rushed out. There was a red dragon in the house. Graham immediately asked Cain to explain, and he told him that he killed it a while back. Garm just could not get high head around it because that a calamity level dragon worth 1,000 platinum, which equivalent to $63 million. Cain now needed to have a housewarming party. Colin expected this and made a list of people he had to invite. Cain then used the knowledge from his previous life to create delicacies. The king invited him to the royal palace and was furious, and being a crybaby because had not received an invitation to Cain's debut ceremony as Baron. Eric was showing off his invitation card, adding fuel to the already overgrown fire. Luckily for Colin, planned ahead and gave an invitation card for the king. The king was as happy as Luffy when he saw food. Cain told his maids about the king attending his debut ceremony. The maids were shocked as to why he was coming. Cain then told them about his engagement with Princess Celestia. At the ceremony, Eric was stunned at the sight of the red dragon. For he only heard about it in stories. Colin then called Cain attention to the ceremony, and Cain thanked everyone for coming and made a toast. As they tried the drink, they instantly fell in love with it. The crowd was surprised at the arrival of the king. He also went crazy after trying the drink and food. He had the typical Shokugeki no Soma kind of reaction. The queen was also amazed by the bidet's toilet he had and requested for it to be in the palace. The king was curious about it and tried for himself. The king immediately wanted it in the palace. He also gave Cain the ultimate compliment for his hospitality. Cain then got a standing ovation for his accomplishment. Marquis 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 arrived and immediately caused trouble. His heart almost leaped out of his chest when he saw the red dragon. 𝐃𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 kept on making bad comments about the ceremony, and although he enjoyed the beverage and food, he denied that he did. Cain presented some party souvenirs, but the 𝐃𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 wanted the recipe to the drink. Cain told him it will not be possible. 𝐃𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 wanted to use his power as Marcus to have it, but Cain told him about something better than the recipe. He used his search skill and waited for the king to get near him and presented the king as the kingdom's biggest. 𝐃𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 immediately got on his knees and everything went back to normal as 𝐃𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐄𝐑 apologized for his behavior. Cain met Vice Captain Dane while walking around the night station and they exchanged greetings. He then told him that Prime Minister Magna had advised him to leave some of his monster materials at the night station. Dame showed him his storage, but Cain told him that the room was too small. Dame wondered if he had another red dragon. Cain told him, but he had the earth dragon and other animals. Dame was in complete disarray because normally even a rank would have a difficult time if they tried to subdue the earth dragon. Cain then showed him all the monsters he had in his magic pocket. Indeed, the room could not have contained them. It would have been like putting Kaido and Big Mom in a human-sized room. Dame asked Cain if he was a hero or the disciple of the gods. Cain told him that he was the son of Margrave Garm. Dame did not want to probe too deeply and stopped asking questions. As Cain was about to take his leave, Dame asked him to help train his knights, and he also wanted him to meet his captain, for his captain enjoyed meeting strong people. Dame introduced his squad to Cain, asked about the captain, and Dame told him that he would soon be here, as the captain always enjoyed a good battle. Cain began forgetting that he was the strongest in the world. Dame told him not to worry for the mock battle to begin. The knights were hesitant because to them, Cain was just a 10-year-old boy. Dame told them to give it a try. The first knight made the biggest mistake as he gave Cain the first move and lost immediately. Cain used his magic boost and turned to the yellow flash as he disappeared from his sight. Cain flung the knight's sword away before he could react. Dame was happy with the results and suggested that Cain took on all the knights at once. The shameless knights were ready to attack a 10-year-old child. They were stopped by their captain, who also thought that Cain was just a mere child. She asked Dame for an explanation, and he told her who Cain actually was. The captain was very delighted and immediately requested a duel. Cain was keeping up with the captain despite the fact that he was using a wooden sword. Soon enough, Cain defeated the captain. The god of luck was back as the captain immediately fell in love with him, forgetting that Cain was just 10 years old. She declared him the man she was going to marry. The knights could not believe what had just happened. The captain then introduced herself, Tijuana von Lieber, a name straight out of Bleach. Took her age was just a number since she was an elf at least 300 years old. Cain ran away from her and told her that this was not something she could simply decide by herself, and he also had a lot of people to consult with. She agreed with him and told Dame to arrange a meeting with the king so she could ask him personally. This was the worst case scenario for Cain. At the king's chamber, Tijuana told him about her proposal to Cain. The king and Garm were shocked. The king asked Cain how this came about because he thought Cain went there to drop monster materials. Cain told him about the mock duel which led to this. Garm asked whether he knew who Tijuana actually was. Tijuana was actually a princess, so her asking for marriage was a huge deal. The king then told her Cain was already engaged to his and the duke's daughters. Tijuana became more eager to go forward with the proposal because Cain had to be a wonderful man to pull the king and the duke's daughters. The king acknowledged her feelings and told her to get permission from her father Layson before going any further. Tijuana dragged Cain back to the battle area to deepen their toxic love. The king was still shocked from hearing that Cain defeated Tijuana, the strongest knight in the kingdom. The prime minister thought Tijuana was probably under the weather. Dame assured him that it was not the case. Tijuana actually lost. The king then looked at Garm. He did not know how to explain his son's strength either after he killed a red dragon. Dame then told the king about the time he asked Cain if he was the disciple of the gods and reacted briefly. The king was convinced that there was something more to Cain. The prime minister suggested giving Cain a special test. Dame caught Cain as he was trying to escape from Tijuana. Cain complained about how exhausting it was to go on dates. He heard Tijuana voice from a distance and tried to run away. Dame grabbed his hand, dragged him to King's chambers. Magna then handed over an emperor-level magic textbook that was passed down in the royal family. Cain's eyes lit up with joy and excitement, ready for a new challenge. As he read the text in the book, the king stopped him and told him that no one could not read it, so how could he? Cain looked at the text once more, and Magna told him that the book was written by their first king in Japanese. Cain then remembered the first king's name, which was Uetara Hirasawa, and it was a Japanese, so he was also probably reincarnated like him. The god of luck was finally outsmarted. He could not lie anymore and told them the truth about him. Garm asked him he was truly his son. He told him yes, and it was without a doubt because the gods told when he got baptized. The whole room once again turned upside down by hearing that. He then showed them his real status window with all his hacks. The king offered everything to him, including his crown, but Cain refused because he was happy with the life he had. Tijuana got back with the permission from her father to marry Cain. She dragged to the arena for more battles. Eric assured the king that Cain was not going to change and that the kingdom was in safe hands. Cain was reading the first king's book. Unlike Cain, he was killed by Trigon, which resulted in his reincarnation. Cain was interrupted by Silk and Telestia. He managed to escape them, but Tijuana caught him immediately after. She invited him for a mock battle, but he told her that he already had plans. It was his 12th birthday, which was also the day he could finally register as an adventurer and start his adventures. Cain was excited as he walked through the guild hall. He accidentally collided with another adventurer who told him to be careful as he started his journey because he only had one life. Cain felt like he'd seen him before, but did not pay much attention to it. After registering and getting his card, he remembered Nina and Millie wondering what they were up to. As he was making small talk with Risha, the girl in charge of registering, some adventurers who were basically just goons and NPCs approached them. Cain was already fed up of this scenario repeating itself. One of the goons told Cain to go back home and tried to kick him. Cain easily dodged him and the rest of the NPCs. As the first goon was about to pull out his sword, Cain told him to stop and clawed from the ice flame, who Cain accidentally ran in to stop them. Cain thanked him and Claude told him that he must be pretty quiet from the way he moved earlier, if only he actually knew. They drank and got to know more about each other. He was called the Ice Flame because he used flames and his wife used ice. He showed him his gold card, which meant that he was an A-rank adventurer. Cain's eyes lit up once again. Claude told him that it was nothing compared to the first king, who was an SSS rank adventurer and had a black card. Lena, his wife, smacked his head like Krishna. She had been looking for him for a while. Cain came to his rescue and told that Claude saved him from some goons earlier. She told him to be careful around these parts. Claude told her that he did not do much for if actually saved the goons from Cain. She dragged by his ears and bid Cain farewell. Cain got his first mission and joyfully got on his way. Tijuana caught him by surprise and forced herself to join him in his quest. They saw some goblins around a man and they acted quickly. Cain healed the man as Tijuana took care of the goblins. Cain then covered for her with magic boost after healing the man. Tijuana turned to a love ranger and slayed the goblins while thinking about her marriage with Cain. Green lizards appeared and Cain overkilled it with an ice pillar. Nina and Millie came by later to look for the green lizards. They found the aftermath instead. Cain left a giant hole in the ground. Cain went back to Risha and told her that he took care of the green lizards. She was surprised because it was a C-rank quest. He then told her that they were about 30 of them. Risha immediately told the chief Cedric about it and requested to see Cain. He told Cain that he was a fraud and would have him banned from the guild because there was no way that a G-rank adventurer could handle a C-rank mission. The guild master entered and looked at Cain. He knew Cain was not lying and told Cedric that he had a lot to learn. Tijuana then walked and called in Cain her husband, leaving Risha and Cedric completely shocked. The guild master was not surprised because he was her brother, that then told Cedric that Cain was a baron and the son Margrave Garm. Cedric went down on his knees and begged for mercy because he insulted a noble, and by law, this meant he could be executed. Cain told him to forget about it, for it was a simple mistake. Tijuana's brother increased Cain's rank to C. Tijuna told her that it will not be enough because Cain killed a red dragon and defeated her, which meant he was not the strongest in the kingdom. He God of Luck shined again as he went from G to a rank in one day. Later, the guild master personally apologized for Cedric's rude behavior earlier. Cain did not mind and told him there was no need to apologize. The gods were wrathing as Cain kept on growing and causing commotions in the kingdom. The god war then asks Zinum the reason for making Cain so strong. He told him it was because Aaron, who was sealed 300 years ago, was about to break the seal. The gods then agreed that they needed to train Cain more and make even stronger. Zinum already had someone in mind to train him. Cain was late for his entrance exam. Sylvia woke him up and told him to hurry up. He was relaxed about the situation. He pretended to run to the entrance exam and turned to at the corner, where he used Goku's instant transmission. Upon his arrival, he got his seat number in classroom. He checked the list and did not see anyone that he knew, so he wondered where they were. He found his class and took his seat. The set begun, and once again the god of luck prevailed. He used his pass and noble knowledge to breeze through the exam. He finished a 2-hour exam in 30 minutes. They went to the training ground for the magic assessment. There were targets for the students to hit. Cain asked the supervisor if they could use their full power. Unknowingly to the supervisor, she made the biggest mistake of her life by saying yes. It was like asking Saitama to use his serious punch. She was confident about the Academy's barrier protection. Cain was finally up. He activated a blue flame which made the supervisor panic, but it was too late. He blew up the target, the wall, and the forest behind it. As usual, they could not believe what they had just seen. The supervisor sent them to the sword test arena. Cain found Claude there. Claude then chose to train and assess Cain. Claude was no joke as he easily blocked Cain even after he used boost. Claude also used his boost and they kept on going at it until the supervisor stopped them because they were making the students wither. Cain visited the king concerning property destruction. He told the king that he used a beginner-level magic because he knew better and to use intermediate and emperor-level magic. The king was surprised that he could already use emperor-level magic, thinking the barrier would be strong enough, but unfortunately, it was not. The king told him that Telesia and Silk did not see him at the entrance exam. Cain, with all his abilities, took the wrong turn. He went to the commoners section instead of the nobles section. The headmaster visited Eric after the exams. He told him about the commoner who got perfect scores and could keep up with an A-rank adventurer. Eric began to laugh because he already knew who it was. He told the headmaster to go ahead and then announce the results. Magna then showed Cain his repair bills. Cain apologized for being too powerful. As Cain checked the novice board, Silk approached him and congratulated him for being top of the class. She got third and Celestia was second. She then laughed about the incident he had in Commoner's area. She also told him about how angry Celestio was that she did not see him at the exams. Cain saw Reen as she was directing the students who passed. He got her attention and her brotherly complex kicked in. She hugged and congratulated him for passing in flying colors. She told him that he had to prepare a speech as the top student. Back at his mansion, Sylvia was impatiently waiting for Cain to return. As soon as he walked, she asked about the result and he told her that he was top of the class. Sylvia was over the moon like a proud mother. Colin also congratulated him for being top of the class. At the ceremony, Cain ensured to pass through the right section this time. He met and sat with his fiancés. The boys behind were angry and jealous. While the girl thought he was cute, Cain's riz was infinite. The headmaster then introduced Cain to the school. Cain apologized for his mistake and the destruction of parties. He also thanked the school for forgiving. He made a point that he was going to make as many friends as possible, whether noble or commoner. All the students clapped after his speech. The king also showed up on a short notice and he was asked to say a few words. He went to the stage and shoved Cain away. The king congratulated them for passing the entrance exam. He told that this year there were some students who were quite irregular as he slapped Cain's back, basically warning Cain. He told the teacher that they were going to have a tough time, so he hoped for them to their best. Eric Magna and his fiancés could not help but laugh. Cain's parent, however, knew that their son's son was being warned. During class, their homeroom teacher, Elke von Portley, introduced herself. She then handed over career choices forms for the student to fill. Cain immediately went for adventuring. His fiancés stopped him and told to consider his choices because he was now a landowning noble, so he needed to learn all kinds of noble skills. Since he was limited to one choice, he chose all the paths he was interested in. He then asked them what they chose. Plestia chose nobility and internal affairs so she could manage his future domain. Silk chose nobility and commerce so she could study whatever will be of help to his future domain. The world definitely needs more that. Cain thanked them. After class, Cain saw Parma getting bullied by Habit and his gang. Cain the hero intervened. Habit wanted to confront whoever was trying to stop him, but when saw Cain, he immediately reconsidered his choices. Habit and his goons wondered why a noble was friends with a commoner. Cain told them that status did not make a difference to him. He cited his friends. Habit threatened to have his ruin Parma's family. Silk and Telestia also intervened. Habit and his squad went down on their knees and apologized. The girls told them to apologize to Parma instead, which they did. Parma thanked Cain and his fiancés for helping her. His fiancés noticed that he was quite to Parma. Silk then told Cain to sit in his heels as they had a private chat with Parma. A voice suddenly spoke to Cain and told him to come to the library. Cain, forgetting that curiosity killed the cat, went ahead. As he opened the doors, he was teleported to someone's home. Cain was confused and shocked as he wondered who the man was and how was there coffee in his home. The man told him that he had been waiting for him and Cain by his real name, Shina Kazuya. Cain sat down and drank coffee with mysterious man. He told Cain to not be guarded because Zenom already told him everything about him. The man introduced himself with the longest Japanese name ever, Uyatera Hirasawa Esfort, which was the name of the first king. Cain thought he was a ghost because the book written by the first was 300 years old. Yuya laughed and told him to find out for himself. Cain opened his status window and saw that Yuya was the god of creation. Yuya told him that this world was called Fabnil, and he created it, and his appearance has not changed in 300 years, leaving Cain flabbergasted. He told Cain that Zenom asked to train him. Cain was reluctant because he was used to scolded for being too strong. Yuya told him to try and take the cookie in his hand. Cain, but before he could reach it, Yuya had his sword near his throat. Cain asked why he needed to be that strong. Yuya told him it was because he had to fight Eren, the evil god, who he and his companions sealed 3 years ago. But recently, it was started to loosen, and he could not fight him because he was now the god of this world, and like the other gods, he could not interfere in that world. He took him to where he would be training. Yuya told him that need to be at least level 600 to face Eren, and Cain's current level was 300. He then gave him a compass and told him to follow it until he got back to the mansion. In this world, 1 year equaled a day in Cain's world, so he did not have to worry too much. Cain fought and walked through the forest until his stamina was practically empty. Meanwhile, Sylvia told Telestia and Silk that Cain had been missing and was most likely kidnapped. Cain came across an injured creature that looked like a Pokemon. He used the last bits of hid magic to heal the creature and he collapsed. When he woke up, the creature was killing all the monsters that approached them. He named it Haku, and they continued the journey together. Cain was a lot bigger when he got back to Yuya's mansion. 4 years had passed. Yuya noticed Haku and told Cain that it was a Fenrir and a holy beast. Yuya introduced him to his new teacher, Darain. Darain and Cain faced off, but it was not a fight. Cain used his boost and went for a punch. Darain weaved and knocked him out with a Mii Shoryuken. He woke up in Darain's house and his wife, Ruri, introduced herself. Darain used Cain as a punching bag for the next couple of days. Yuya told Cain about Eren. Eren was the god of amusement, so the reason why there were no games or entertainment in his world was because of his absence. Eren used an oracle to force everyone into a squid game, so he was banished from the realm of gods. Should he ever return, the world would be forced to participate in his game. He told Cain that he knew of his parents and how he failed to protect them as they died while trying to stop Eren. Cain then completed his training and went back to his world. Yuya gave him a sword as a present to the current king. Sylvia and his fiancés were relieved and overjoyed when Cain returned. He ate the cookies he made in tears. The king was reading a letter from Yuya as Cain told him about how he met the first king and the world's separate world Yuya had created. The king, Eric and Magna were baffled upon hearing. Cain then showed him the katana that the first king used. The king asked about his training with the first king as it was mentioned in the letter. Cain told him about all he went through for the last 5 years. The king was confused as to how Cain could have been there for 5 years. Eric laughed and told Cain about his rank advancement quest, and his registration was about to be cancelled if they did not pick up the quest. Cain immediately went to and picked up the quest. He apologized and blamed the academy for consuming his free time. Cain was flying over the forest like Superman when he noticed his former tutors and Tamanis engaging a group of bandits. He quickly dealt with the bandits and rounded up. Nina and Millie were in awe and at the same time scared of how strong Cain was. They asked him what he was doing out there and told them about his mission. Cain once again surprised them with his rank card. Cain pulled the carriage with the bandits in it. He submitted the subjugation form back to the guild. Cross and his goons tried to cause problems again, but as soon as Cain intervened, they remembered what happened before. Claude also walked in and he's surprised when he saw Millie and Mina. Cain asked how he knew them. He told him that Nina was his sister. They drank together and all wondered how Cain was already in a rank and so strong. Millie then told Claude and his wife that Cain was already a baron and had a mansion. He was very gold digger's dream. Claude quickly apologized for being rude. Nina was not so surprised about his strength because he killed a red dragon when he was much younger. She then brought the magic bag he made for them. Claude's wife asked how much it could hold. Millie told her it could hold a mansion, which meant that it was a national treasure level. She asked him to make one, and he agreed. Lena fell on him. She could not handle her liquor, just like Rock Lee. Cain remembered that he had school the next day and rushed home. After Cain left, Risha told them that the instructor for the adventuring class got injured and they were looking for a replacement. Claude became intrigued and told her to tell him more about it. The next very magical practical, the homeroom teacher announced that Cain had been banned from using magic because the school barrier could handle the force of his magic. Claude, Lena, Millie, and Nana somehow replaced the injured adventurers. The teacher introduced in the class, and the students were in awe. Claude asked the students to bring out their geld cards. Cain already knew where this was heading. Claude approached and tried to persuade him to show his card, but Cain made an excuse. After frustrating Cain the whole day, Cain took his anger out on the monsters in the forest. He destroyed and killed everything like the Angel of Death. A soldier saw the destruction happening and rang the bell announcing that the Prince of Darkness had come. Garm took charge and rode to the destruction with his knights. Upon his arrival, everything had been destroyed except a napkin with his family crest on it. He already knew who did this. The killer called Cain to the palace and asked him if the gods did not tell him about the Prince of Darkness who caused so much destruction. He told them no. Magna suggested working with other nations, but Cain cut him short and told them that it will not be necessary. The king deduced that Cain was hiding something from him and pressed him about it until he eventually confessed. Meanwhile, the seal was getting weaker and Aaron was getting ready to attack. Cain was finally allowed to participate at the class summoning practical since they were not using attack magic. A palace mage came to teach them about summoning magic. As the students were trying to form contract, the palace mage looked for Cain since he was the last person to try. Cain did not want to cause more problems in school. The mage told him to use as much magic as he could because the summon will just disappear if he cannot form a contract. Cain surprised himself and the mage, for he summoned Lucifer. Cain had summoned Seth, the Prince of Darkness. He immediately used flashbang magic and other for the mage, and the student will not see what he had done. Seth was willing to serve for him and destroy anything for him, so they formed a contract. Cain stopped his blinding light magic. When Seth went back, the mage questioned him about a god calling himself the Prince of Darkness. Cain told him yes, but he could not form a contract with him. The mage told him he would leave it that only for Cain to be summoned by the king because the mage was a snitch. They asked about what he summoned. Cain tried to beat around the bush, but the king did not budge. He once again made everyone's blood pressure skyrocket after he told them about summoning the Prince of Darkness and formed a contract with him. The king was furious because Cain had no self-control, and then if the Prince of Darkness ever went on rampage, he could destroy the royal in blink of an eye. Cain apologized once again. The mage was still in shock because summoning the Prince of Darkness required an impossible amount of magic. The king deduced that his training with Yuya must have paid off a lot. He asked Cain to show his absurd status window and all his hacks. He also told Grat, the royal mage, to keep it a secret. Once he opened the status window, they were dumbfounded as his stats were not immeasurable and he was now a demigod. Grat immediately bowed and worshipped Cain. The king decided to make Cain a viscount and would give a town to do as he pleases. Should he be successful, he would announce his engagement. He did not want any objections because a man who cannot protect a house or a town cannot hope to protect an entire nation. As Sylvia was congratulating Cain on his new title, Cullen walked him and told that Garm received urgent word from his son Jin in Grecia about an onslaught in the forest of monsters. Cain went to visit his brother immediately. Jin told Cain about the onslaught, and he decided to check it out by himself. Jin told him that it was too dangerous, and Cain showed him his rank card. Cain met his former tutors at the guild. They were here because there was a call to all high-ranking adventurers. He told them that he was going to check the forest alone. They asked him to wait for Claude, but just like the Shadow Monarch, Cain was a one-man army. He summoned Haku and Jin, the baby dragon he got from Darien. He used his search skill and eliminated all the monsters in his radar. He sensed something else that could not detect, so he summoned Seth to track it. Seth summoned his butler for help, and Cain went back to the guild after taking care of some monsters. After finding the source of the problem, Seth warned Cain about the incoming hordes of monsters. Cain told Claude to assemble the adventurers as he was going to the forest to try and prevent the monsters from reaching the city. Tijuana also joined them. She wanted to follow him, but he told her to lead the adventurers and protect the town. Cain and Seth ran to Dalmatia, his butler, who was already facing the monsters. Cain noticed where the source of the dark energy was coming from and got ready for battle. Eren was ready to face them. Seth told Cain to go after Eren while he took care of the monsters. Cain was worried about him doing it alone. He assured him that he was going to be alright, for he would summon his underlings. The only problem was trying not to destroy the whole forest. Back in the town, Millie decided to go to the forest because no matter how strong Cain was, they had no idea how many monsters were out there. Nina also decided to go, and so did everyone else. Seth summoned his underlings to handle the monsters. He told them that Friend requested his help. They were shocked that someone was great enough to request his help. The underlings were also shocked to see Dalmatian at the legendary demon general. He told them about the contract the Prince of Darkness made, so they had no choice but to obey. Cain finally got to Eren. Eren was not full power because only a part of him got revived, so he borrowed the body of a dragon. The final showdown began. Even though Eren was not at full power, Cain's magic did not work on his, and Eren was not able to give time to charge up and attack. Millie and the gang were doing their best killing incoming monsters. It felt like they were going to fight forever, but could not wait for it to end and have a drink with Cain. Eren was relentlessly attacking Cain's summons. The Millie were running of energy from facing so many monsters. Claude, who had that dog in him, kept on going. Tijuana eventually joined them with her troops. Cain rushed in to protect his summons and with help the ultimate skill power of friendship. He activated the skill that defeated Eren 300 years and poured out all his magic into it. His summon tried to stop him because he had already erased Eren from the face of the earth. Seth and Dalmatia joined him, and Seth asked if releasing so much power was necessary. Cain had no idea that the Eren had been disintegrated. The monsters went back to the forest and the town was saved. The king still scolded Cain even though he saved the world, because the last attack he used was like a pillar of light, and some people mistakenly believed that it meant the gods had descended upon the land. The king officially gave Cain the title of a viscount and also gave him the domain of Dorenthal, so henceforth he would be known as Cain von Silford Dorenthal. Although many have tried and failed to properly handle Dorenthal, Cain wasted no time as he stood on business and cleared out heap bandits and the corrupt members of the church who were demanding for too much tithe. He then built a castle way bigger than the king's palace. Thank you for coming with us to the finish line of this adventurous world filled with love. Please do not hesitate to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and turn on the notification bell. Also like our videos and leave a comment below them. Keep dreaming and keep discovering new parts of yourself.